My game-changing moment was late 1978. I had just started playing with baritone saxophonist Nick Brignola, and I had been playing with him for probably the better part of that year. And he got a record date on Interplay Records, and he had to come down here to New York to record. And the owner of the label, the producer, whatever, they had put together a band to back him up, and the record was a record that's out there called New York Bound. And that time the band consisted of, it was Walter Bishop Jr. on piano, Sam Jones on bass, and the great Roy Haynes on drums. So myself and the guitarist that was playing in the group with us at the time, with Nick, we came down with him just to be here, to be on the scene, to watch and listen and, you know, be there. And so we were having a great time, and they were recording and things were going well, and they were about to try to do a tune that was written by this guitar player that was called Fast Food, and had a little bit of an intricate head. It was more deceptive than hard. And so they were running it down, and they were struggling getting it together. And I'm sitting in the control room, and all of a sudden, Nick Brignola comes in and says to me, "Hey man, why don't you go in there and help Roy Haynes, you know, with that part?" And I was like, "What? Seriously?" He goes, "Yeah, go on and show you." I went, "Roy Haynes? I'm going to go show Roy Haynes how to do this." He goes, "Well, no, just help him." So I went in and I said, "Hey, Roy, you know, he wanted me to just show you, and I don't want to, you know, I didn't want to step on any toes or anything." So I was trying to help him with the part. I said, "You know, this is the hit that's always awkward in the tune." And so they tried, and he was doing it. So Nick's in the studio. They're running it down. They were still not quite there. Next thing you know, he says to me, "David, why don't you just show him how it goes?" And I'm like, again, what? Are you serious? And so Roy was very gracious, and he goes, yeah, go ahead, man, show him, you know. So I sat down at Roy's kit, you know, and here I am, here's one of my idols. As a young kid learning to play jazz, and I'm like, you know, I'm trying to divorce it from my mind that I'm sitting behind Roy Haynes' drum kit in the studio, and he's standing right next to me while I'm trying to show him. So we played a tune down. I was familiar with it because we've been playing in the band. We played it down and we start blowing, and Sam Jones was playing bass, which was another thrill for me as a young guy. And all of a sudden we stopped and everything, and Roy Haynes turns to Nick and says, "Well, man, why don't you have him play? He sounds great. Why don't you just let him play on this cut with you?" And that's what ultimately happened. Myself and the guitarist Chuck DeLoya, we played on that tune on that record, New York Bound. Unfortunately, as things go, if anybody ever knows that record, there's 3 tunes on one side, 2 tunes on the other. There's supposed to be 3 tunes on both sides. Back then, the record industry was highly controlled by the Musicians Union. And unfortunately, in order to have us on the record, he would have had to pay us. And we said, "You don't have to pay us. You don't have to give me a dime." And he couldn't clear that. And so that cut wound up being scrapped from the actual record. But I have a recording of it for myself at home. And it was just a milestone. And that was the moment when I realized, if Roy Haynes, one of my idols, is standing there saying that I sound good enough to do what he was hired to do, then I think I can commit and really hang in there. And that was it. At that point, I realized I was in it for the long haul. And now, 78, wow, it's a lot of years later. So that was my moment.
If you've played a pair of Vicks in the last 50 years, your history is our history. Come share your game-changing moment at VicFirth50.com.